Hi, I'm your host Shamilochan Lal, and I welcome you on Speak Your Mind on Gold FM. You've been watching and listening to the promos which we have been airing on Gold FM and also on FBC TV about an increase of reports in the media of sexual offences, many involving children. And I have received great response on Speak Your Mind Facebook, also through callers and those who have been listening to these promos. I must also thank Linny Roche, who is the co-founder and the director of Homes of Hope. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Linny.
Thank you so much, Shami.
And I have with me Amita Jyoti of Save the Children Fund. And today we are going to discuss this very important topic. What is the role of Homes of Hope and why has there been an increase in sexual offences? I have other guests who will join me later on the show, so I want you to be with me on the show and also call me on 3220906 and 3220907 to join the discussion. So let's start with this important question. As I've mentioned earlier, that there has been increase of reports in the media of sexual offences and many involving children. So what could be the cause of increase in sexual violence, Linny?
I think the greatest thing to note is that people are becoming more aware and the subject is becoming talked about. It's not as taboo as it once was. And so therefore people are feeling more comfortable to report. And likewise, the police and the social welfare departments and other stakeholders are becoming more sensitized to to deal with these children and situations in a much more kind way. And so the victims are much more willing to come forward, and they're also seeing justice prevail, whereas before that wasn't so much the case. And so I think that that's a good step forward.
Definitely. So there has been an increase of reports. Does it mean that there has been an increase in this sexual offense violence?
From our perspective, we would agree with Linny. So when there is an increase in reported cases, it's not necessary that the cases of sexual violence against children has increased. It could be due to more awareness raising. The communities and children have become more aware. So they are coming forth to report. And as Linny mentioned, yes, our stakeholders such as the Fiji Police Force, our court system, they are very stringent. Everybody is working together to ensure that those cases are thoroughly investigated and brought to justice.
But we've seen some alarming cases last month, which was reported by the DPP's office, and the statistics revealed by the DPP's office revealed that there were the forced sexual encounters, one serious incident of alleged gang rape, 42 cases of rape, 2 attempted rape. The stats revealed there were 21 victims in the 71 separate incidents and 15 victims of serious sexual offense cases were under the age of 18. So the statistics for sexual offense has been alarming. Do you think that the awareness which has been created through various stakeholders, and we have a lot of NGOs working on this, and so is Homes of Hope and Save the Children Fund, do you think that in near future we will see a decrease in these cases? What is your forecast on this prediction? Have we been working vigorously and aggressively?
Statistically, so the stats are there from the different stakeholders, but I would say there needs to be maybe an updated research or survey carried out to see the trend, whether it's really increasing or decreasing. All the different stakeholders are doing their work, but for us to really see how the current situation is and how we are trending towards sexual violence against children, of course we all agree that in Fiji this issue needs to be addressed, and not only one organization can address. So government is doing their work, and it's working with a wide range of stakeholders to ensure that this decreases over time.
Okay, Linny, the Homes of Hope has been working specifically with the victims of CSEC, which is the commercial sexual exploitation of children in Fiji, which reveals that most children whom you rescue have been victims of commercial sexual exploitation?
To clarify just a bit, we work with women and girls who have been victims of forced sex. And this is a term that our girls have come up with. Forced sex is kind of an umbrella that incorporates rape, incest, CSEC, and trafficking. And our girls came up with this term rather than using those individual terms. They like the term forced sex because it connotates that it wasn't their choice. It was forced upon them. And in the context of the Fijian culture, it was really an important thing for them. So when Homes of Hope talks about our girls, we talk about that they were either victims of or vulnerable to forced sex.
So, Amita, Save the Children did a research in 2009. What were some key findings of the research in the area of CSAC?
So, yeah, we did a research on commercial sexual exploitation of children, and in short, we call that CSEC. And I would like to firstly define the word CSEC. So, CSEC is the exploitation of children. When we say children, anyone below the age of 18 years by an adult, and that adult could be male or female, which is usually accompanied by payment either in cash or kind to the child or adolescent, or it could also go to one or more third persons. And in 2009, through support from international labor organizations tackling child labor through education program, we undertook a survey on CSEC specifically. And during that survey, we found out that a total of 104 children, so these were children below the age of 18 years, that were actively engaged as sex workers. They were exploited through sex work. Yeah, and most of these children were between almost 88% of them were between the ages of 16 to 17 years old, and the youngest child that we had interviewed was 13 years old. And some of the factors relating to why these children engaged into CSEC came up was due to peer pressure, due to sexual and physical violence in the homes that these children faced in the communities or at their homes, the need for money, and also parental and family problems at home.
So this research was done in 2009, which was your finding. 102 were the victims. Was there any research after that, after 2009?
So although there hasn't been any updated after lapse of 8 years, we have
It has been a long time.
Yeah.
2009 to 2017 is a long time. Didn't Save the Children Fund see the need of doing another research? Why did it take so long? Or has it hasn't even happened now? Has
So we
something
haven't
fared?
undertaken any recent research on CSEC, but we are thinking of, we also need donor support and financial support in order to carry out this type of surveys. So although no latest survey on CSEC, but we still believe that priority should be placed, and we should assess the situation now, and let's see what could be done to curb both the demand and supply side of CSEC.
Lindy, do you think it would be a worry to learn that there was no survey carried after 2009, that there should have been one?
Yes, however, I do understand. I mean, we're all stuck with funds. And so without the funds and without organizations that'll fund, because it was quite an extensive job that
Yes.
they did in coalition.
I think there were
with
two,
ILO.
right? One before 2009 too.
The first one was in 2006. That was just a situational analysis.
And then after 3 years,
Yeah.
2009, and nothing has been done. So are you planning something in recent future?
So we are having lots of discussions on that, and we will, as an organization, we will see, prioritize. And of course, even though we don't have any recent survey, we are working with the government in close collaboration with the government of the day and with the National Coordinating Committee for Children, NCCC, and the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation, to see how best we can address issues, child protection issues against children in Fiji.
Lenny, what would you like to see done in this area as they plan for another research? Or
I think the
survey?
greatest thing that research can provide is information. And I think that once people get statistics and facts, then they start believing. And so I would love to see another survey for the point of opening people's eyes and ears to see the problem.
We'll take a break, and soon after this break, we'll talk to a lovely lady from Homes of Hope who has been a victim. We'll hear her story, and soon after her story, we'll get more guests on Talkback Show. To join me on this discussion, you can call me on 3220906 or 3220907, or go on Facebook page, Speak Your Mind, and you can add your comments about this show. So right after this break, we'll join you. Welcome welcome back on Speak Your Mind. I have with me my guest, Lini Roche, who is the co-founder and director of Homes of Hope. And now I've been joined by Annalisha. I've been asked to call her by the name Annalisha and not to reveal her right identity. Thank you very much, Annalisha, for joining me on this show.
Okay.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Yes. Annalisha, we've been talking about the increase in sexual violence, where mostly women and children are the victim. And what is the situation like for young girls, women in your community?
In the community where I came from, most of the young girls that are there are from broken families and school dropouts. Mostly they just come with their friends. They hang out with their friends. Yeah, most of them is just that.
Do you get enough support in your community? Do people, women and children feel safe?
No. When I was out there, it was mostly we were just stigmatized and just talk about. We were belittled and yeah, most of them was just abused, like verbally.
Mm-hmm.
People just looked down on us. They didn't really see the potential and the things that were in us.
You see that the community that which we believe our foundation is, our religious foundation is very strong. Mostly Itoki communities, the belief is based on the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that have we gone astray in some areas in that area? We're not taking our religious beliefs very seriously, which has been a reason for this?
No, it's just from the foundation, the family.
Mm-hmm.
The family is broken, children go astray and problems happen, teenage pregnancy, start falling out into the streets, dropping out of school, and because there's lack of support from the family. It doesn't really have to be with the religion.
Okay. Share a little about your experience, your situation.
I was in a community where I hang out with friends. I'm from a broken family and I live with my mom. So we usually hang out with other kids in the community doing stuff that are just not really good.
And it was because you didn't have the support in the family?
Yes. And yes, from that end, mostly I was traumatized at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really talked much about. We weren't really open about it at home.
Would you be comfortable sharing your experience?
Yeah. At the age of 3, I was violated, you would say. And so we were at home from then. No one talked about it, like we didn't share, but I wasn't really counseled.
Mm-hmm.
So
These were people you knew?
no, just a random stranger. So we didn't really
But
talk
you
about
couldn't talk to anyone. Why couldn't you
Yeah.
talk?
Because it was like a big taboo at home. Like if I say something about my mom, would be like, "Oh no, it didn't happen." So everyone was just trying to avoid the topic. So that was like, and later on, like you would say, just leave it, but just bury it. But then later on, it would come out, and so for me, it came out that way. Like I was trying to look for help. I was trying someone to hear my voice. Which wasn't really heard then, but now I feel comfortable at where I'm staying.
So how did you get to know about Homes of Hope?
They had a community jam camp. So I went for the camp and I heard what they were teaching, all the, what would you say? The classes that they were giving, skills, hard skills. Sewing and baking, which I didn't know, which wasn't taught at home.
So did anyone introduce you to Homes of Hope? How did you find out their location and what they did? Were you comfortable going to Homes of Hope at that point?
Yes, I volunteered to go because I was at that time, I was near the breaking point. I was just so mental and I just couldn't take what I was going through.
Lini, what was the condition of Annalisha when she came to Homes of Hope?
I think she's described it really well. She was quite broken, quite confused, and she's just the tip of the iceberg. Most of the girls have a similar story in that the families, the broken family, the abuse that happens at home, and not being believed and not having that voice is just, it's soul-shattering is really what it is. And a lot of these girls just feel less than human because they've been violated, but no one believes them, and no one would give them a voice to talk about it and to work it through. So she was pretty broken when she came.
How old were you then, Annalisha?
21.
So what is your message to parents, young girls in similar situation?
To parents, it would be the decisions you make. It will affect your children. So if you can fix the problem, that will be really helpful for your children's future. And for the young girls, you are worth it. You are worth much more than what you're doing. And to the community, if you see a girl that's just standing in the street and you are one of those people that just look at them and go, oh, they can look for a job. What they're really looking for is just a hug, a word of encouragement.
Comfort,
or-
love, and to be accepted,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because these are very vulnerable children,
Yes.
especially girls. And our hope comes from our parents. Our comfort comes. And any child, any girl or a boy or a girl at that age will definitely run to their mum or dad to share the experience. Unfortunately, mums feel that when they hear such stories of violence and the way children have been tortured, I think they're too afraid to believe or accept. Is that why they say it's not true?
Yeah, they just like it's a tambwe. It's like in the Fijian culture. What happens? If it happened, just leave it, bury it. Don't talk about it. Just leave it. Let it rest there. But then it comes out in the future.
It really tortures the
Yeah,
other person who's
yeah.
been suffering. How has Homes of Hope helped you?
It has helped me in many ways. I'm not just saying this because I really need
And how has it shaped you too? Yes.
It has built me up to be very positive in my way of thinking. Not to most of the time when I was in the streets, I was just looking down myself that I had no skills, I had nothing of worth. But then they helped me build myself up to be a strong and very presentable girl.
It's a very pretty young-looking woman with a lot of confidence. Tell me, if I were to ask you this, if there wasn't a place like Homes of Hope, what would have happened? How would your future, how would it have, I mean, what would have been your future like?
I was pregnant by the time I found out about Homes of Hope. So I think it was a very bleak. I was just looking at the negative sides. So if Homes of Hope didn't come along then, I think I would be in a very, very bad place. Like, I'd be worse off than I was.
So what do you do now? What are you doing?
I'm taught peer mentoring skills, hard skills like sewing, baking, housekeeping, and just getting to know God more.
So has these skills helped you in the community? Has the community accepted you? Do you still feel stigmatized?
Yes, because it's my past. I was that once, but I'm working so hard to just make them see that I am who I am now, who I really am.
Do people, when they see you, when they see the new Annalisha, and now that you have graduated from Homes of Hope, definitely, with remarkable, excellent, I must say, remarks, right? So do you get approached by people with wrong advances and things like that? How do you deal with that?
I still do get that from people that I know in the past. They still think that I'm still like one of them.
Do you get angry at times? Did you feel angry?
No,
You know.
because I was with them, so I know what they really need. And Homes of Hope has taught me peer mentoring. So I've learned how to deal with the situation, how to approach it, how to just deal with it, to solve it.
Good. So one last comment. It's something that is in your heart which really touches you, and through this program, through Speak Your Mind you want to say to the viewers and to the listeners?
Yes. The place where I was from, we lived in a ghetto. So, with all these young girls that you see in the streets, most of the time they just look at us and sometimes they spit our way, like they had no respect for us. And because it's just in the way that we live, like people would say, go and find a job, you can get a job, earn money in a honest way. But mostly it's just because of what we need. We just need love because we were from broken families. Some young girls are broken from a very young age and they don't go through the parental love that was given to the others. So they just need a word of comfort. Just give it to someone.
Thank you, Annalisa, for taking this brave step of coming on the show. And I want to tell you, you're such a pretty, beautiful woman, and I love you. And the reason that you've been so successful in your life is because you have forgiven people and you've moved on. And the fact that you said that getting to know God more closely. Wish you all the best in your future. And once again, thank you very much. We'll take another break, and I have another guest on the next segment. We're going to talk about the role of Homes of Hope. And if you want to call and contribute and join me in this discussion, remember to call me after the break on 3220-906 and 3220-907 on Speak Your Mind. Welcome back on Speak Your Mind. I'm joined by Ajay Bhai Amrit. Welcome, Ajay.
Thank you, Shami. Thank you very much.
And Lenny is still here with us. Thank you for continuing to be on this show.
Thank you.
It was wonderful talking to Annalisa. She has progressed so much in her life, and that's because of Homes of Hope. And Ajay, you are the Goodwill Ambassador for Homes of Hope. Why did you choose to join Homes of Hope?
Well, I'm going to be the Goodwill Ambassador in September.
Okay.
So just a few weeks to go. But basically, I used to go there just with various institutions. We used to give some money, some donations, etc. And as I started visiting, I could see that the girls and generally the organizations that deal with these kind of situations, they don't get the support that they should do. So I thought to myself, okay, all right, let me see how I can help. And then Homes of Hope made a sort of a thinking maybe they can get a Goodwill Ambassador. Now I said no. I said, well, the reason I said no, it's not in a negative way, was I felt maybe I could find someone for them. And so off I went, looked around, asked a lot of people, would they be interested? And there's certain criteria you have to have to be an ambassador for this type of situation.
What was the criteria which you put forward?
If for us to have a public figure represent us, they really need to be a person in good moral standing and a solid family person with a great reputation and history.
And Ajay definitely does fit in,
Yes.
although even more than that. So are you happy, Ajay? And doing it from your heart, definitely, I know that.
Yeah.
Because before, I just wanted to say something that Ajay came with Lenny and met with me and said, Shami, we need to talk about that. So thank you for that initiative.
No problem at all. No. But I'll just go one step back and I'll say basically, why am I on board? The reason I'm on board is of course, I'd prefer to be saying brush your teeth, go to bed early. It's very simple to do that. But every day when you're reading the paper and when you go to Homes of Hope and you first hand you see what the situation is, it's a situation of watching. Let's say I'll give you an example for the common man. There's a crash outside, a car crash. You have to go and help. And I felt no one else is going to do it. I better go and help. That's number one. Number two is we're dealing with lives, directly with lives, and someone's got to step up at some point. And in all the surveys I've seen and online, etc., it's always better to have a male counterpart
Mm-hmm.
to try and advocate for this situation. So I said, okay, I'll do what I can. I'm coming on board for 1 year. Do I get involved with the cases? No, but I advocate for them. So what I'm saying is, I'm not day to day, and I don't actually go and I take part in any of the cases, but I'm a keen advocate. And what advocate is basically is to come on shows like this, tell the public, tell the public how it is, and there is a problem, and we need to address that problem.
How can we address this problem?
The problem is, first of all, is it's taboo. That's the first and foremost. Every person that we've met who has been through this cycle, the cycle is they're being taken advantage of, and there's nowhere to go. That's number one. Number two is, when there's nowhere to go, it continues because people brush it under the carpet. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the situation is it has to be opened up. If someone is being sexually exploited and you know about it, you must whistleblow. You must tell the authorities, tell social welfare, tell whoever you need to tell, so they can get help. At the moment, people are saying, it's not my problem. I'm staying away. Now, the mindset's got to change.
Yes, and not many people are coming forward, and most of the parents would prefer to hide this because of embarrassment. If something happens, a similar situation does happen to their child or daughter or a son, then they want to hide it from relatives and families. So Lenny, do a lot of people come? Do people come? How can we help them to open up, break the silence?
Our biggest obstacle to working with these girls is the stigmas and the paradigms within people in churches, in communities, in business houses. What she was, what name did Annalisa?
Annalisa.
What Annalisa was sharing of how people view her is just across the board. And so these girls and these boys too, we have to say it's across the board for boys that have been sexually exploited. If you look on the streets now, I would say 99% of the boys that are selling themselves on the street have been abused sexually from a young age. So if you're looking across the board, in all those years of you growing up, you're told, like Annalisa, just bury it, it's taboo, we don't talk about that, this is too embarrassing for our family, you'll shame us. And so it's buried. It's never buried with inside the individual. And so unless we start lifting this taboo, and unless we start openly talking about it, having policies and laws in place that are enforced harshly, and until perpetrators are taken to task every time, it's going to continue to be brushed under the rug.
Yeah, and Ajay, like you said, that as of September you will be the Goodwill
That's right,
Ambassador,
yeah.
right? What plans do you have?
The plan I have in place is I've given myself a task, and I'm going to visit 52 organizations, that's one every week, and advocate about this situation. I think the places to go are like garment factories when they have 1,000, 2,000 people, where I can speak openly, give them free numbers where they can call and get help, because a problem shared is a problem halved. I cannot physically go and help them. The reason why, it's not my area. That's for social welfare, that's for the professionals at Homes of Hope, that's for Save the Children, that's for this, so many organizations. But as an advocate, my absolute number one priority is to make people aware, and make people aware that there is help. And I believe by doing so, 50% of the problem is already halved. That's my thinking. But what do you think, Shami?
I think absolutely, and we'll discuss more on this topic and about this. We'll also look at some case studies, and since Ajay Amrit is a public figure, very well-respected person, we will also like to know what have you observed all these years in this area. So we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back on Speak Your Mind. Welcome back on Speak Your Mind. My guests are Ajay Amrit, the Goodwill Ambassador for Homes of Hope, and Lenny Roche, who is the co-founder and the director for Homes of Hope. Ajay, you mentioned about where people can call for help on toll-free numbers. Do you have these numbers in
Yes,
place?
I have. Yeah, the first one is a child line, and everyone needs to know that these are strictly confidential numbers. So meaning, phone up, feel free, and you can share your problems, and it is confidential. And I'll give you the numbers. The child line is 1325. I'll say that again, 1325. Very, very important. Children know that there is someone to talk to, there is some help. And the second line is the domestic violence line, and that is 1560. I'll say that again, 1560. And that's the domestic violence line. And both these lines, both of them, they can save lives. So please, if you are having a problem, wherever you are, and you feel you need to get some advice or some help, a problem shared is a problem halved. And we got the help, we got the child line, and we have the domestic violence line.
This is really great, and these numbers belong to Homes of Hope, right?
No. This is through the government.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're well run, very well run. Great counselors on the ends of those phones.
And then they refer the cases to Homes of Hope?
If need be, they
okay.
refer to wherever need be.
Okay.
Yeah.
But basically, the government, we got these two numbers, so you call in, and then they got great counselors. It's well run by NGOs,
And they
government.
spread it across.
And then that's right. They'll work out where you need to be helped, and then from there they will take over.
Excellent. So let us look at a case study. This was done by Save the Children Fund. Amita was here early. This was a case study in 2007. A female sex worker from Western Division reported that when particular land owners got paid for the lease money, many times they take the money and stay in motels for weeks at a time and pay young teenage girls for sexual acts while they are there. So without the demand for child sex workers and perpetrators willing to pay for it, children will not be in this industry. So do you think there's a demand for this?
There's a tremendous demand. And if I could just explain a little bit, there's the forced sex goes across the board from what we've seen in movies like Taken, Hollywood movies like Taken, where it's commercial trafficking and the big rough guys take girls or girls go to hotels. But then there's also familial trafficking. And most of the girls that come through Homes of Hope have been trafficked or used by their family members. All of our girls, even if they come to us in an older age, have been abused by a family member between the ages of 8 to 15 or younger. So what happens is one story is a young girl who came to us at 14 years of age. Her father had sold her to his boss so that he could maintain his position of employment. So the demand is much greater than just wanting sex. It's also the demand of, I need to maintain my job. Or the rural village where the individual will sell the child to the chief so that the individual can maintain their property, their land in that village. So you have so many different variations of this, but the end result funnels down to the exploitation of these women and girls.
I think it's important to talk about such cases. This will open people's eyes and they'll realize, because most of us are so comfortable in our little world that we do not want to see what's happening out there. Ajay, do you also get to hear about such cases?
I do, and I can talk on behalf of the private sector. Sometimes I've heard of various people. Maybe they've one particular 100% story I know, which is true, is there was a person who was interviewing for a company, interviewing women who are coming for a job, and he would guarantee the job to which girl would sleep with him, basically. And he was found out because the girl was brave enough to say, no, hang on, this isn't happening. And she reported the matter to his bosses, and his bosses basically listened in on another interview he did. He was found to be guilty and he was dismissed there and then. So it's not acceptable, but it's happening. So how would you feel, Shami, if you had to go to a job and the man said, "Okay, I'll give you this job, but you have to do this, this, this for me"? It's disgraceful, and it's happening, and obviously it's not right.
So how can the issue of violence and neglect within the home and like you mentioned in private sector, how can this be addressed?
I think that Annalisa addressed it really well. We have to address the root, which is the family. If the family can keep their act together, discuss these issues, hold each other accountable, be there for one another, love on one another, that is just such that would put miles ahead of the issue itself. If the families continue to be broken, if the families continue to say that this is a taboo subject and we won't discuss it, the problem itself will continue to grow.
And so desperately I say, sometimes you want to express yourself. The desperate voice here is speak up, break the silence. When your daughters and your son, when your little children or a teenager comes to you and tells you, "Mom, this happened to me, this is how it was handled, this was the wrong move," listen to them. Don't just brush them aside.
Yeah.
I think parents, yes.
And I think it's also important to listen and support them.
Support them.
Because a lot of parents, I shouldn't say a lot, but a fair amount of parents would not want to hear that. So they'll say, it's okay, and then push it aside. So what happens to the victim is they are then they feel that they're the person that's doing something wrong.
Yes.
When really they need that support.
They need that support. So our step would be, do not protect the perpetrators.
Yes, that's
Protect
right.
your own children. They are your blood. They are your people. I mean, we love them. If anything happens to them, when they're in pain, we feel.
That's right.
It's time to listen to them. We'll take another break and we'll come back with our last break. And that's when we'd like to know, how did Homes of Hope start and what are your ultimate goals and how are you going to achieve that? We'll be right back soon after this break. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind. I'm your host, Shani Lochin, and I'm with Ajay Amir, the Goodwill Ambassador for Homes of Hope, and Lenny Roche. We're talking about these vulnerable children who have been abused and have been victims of sexual offense. So, what was one case, Lenny, which you came across, which really touched your heart? You receive a lot of such cases, right?
We've worked with over 500 girls through the years, but one incident that I wanted to bring out is we have a whole team on our social work team that goes out into communities for the purpose of helping to change the thinking and the attitudes and the stigmas. And so this team was out in a particular community in the greater Suva area, and they noticed that there were 8-year-olds standing on the street selling themselves for sex. And I think it's important to note here and to bring emphasis to this, that those 8-year-olds, so many people say, oh, like Annalisa was saying, oh, you're there by choice. Sure, you can go get a job. You don't have to be doing that. 8-year-olds don't choose to stand on a street corner and sell themselves for sex. And so this was being forced on these 8-year-olds by their family members and continued on. So I think that's important to note. And we have 499 other stories that I could tell you about. But this one I think was great to bring out just to show the age and that it's being enforced.
And earlier you mentioned about there has to be stricter laws and enforced.
Enforced.
Are we doing anything in that area?
Well, I know that the Juvenile Department of the Police is working very carefully with the Australian police to come up with a sex offender registry, which, when it's in place, will be a tremendous thing, because that means that if you're convicted of any sexual offense, it's known nationwide. So if you go to apply for a job, especially working in a school or a preschool, then your name would come up with that registry.
So if we do notice, those who are listening to us and watching us on FBC TV and listening to us on Speak Your Mind Gold FM, if we do see 8-year-old roaming around, and if we're suspicious, how do we go about reporting? Do we get in touch with Homes of Hope? Ajay, how Linny and you might want to talk about that?
I think I'll let Linny answer that question. Linny, you want to just go with that
Yeah,
one?
so the best thing to do would be to call the Sexual Offense Unit of the Fiji Police or the Department of Social Welfare. Immediately call one of those two.
And they can,
Yeah, I just want to let the viewers know, with these types of cases, the situation in Fiji is, it's not a private sector problem. It's not a public sector problem. It's not a government problem. It's a society problem. And I think that we all have to join hands, yeah, and only through joining hands, and only through reporting, and only through looking after each other, and only through the family unit to start with, should protect the child. You see, sometimes people say, "Oh, social welfare should have done that. Oh, he should have done that. They should have done that." The bottom line is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a problem of the society. In Fiji, we're putting blindfold on. It's got nothing to do with me. I don't want to know. It's got to stop. You see something wrong, report it. End of story.
that's so true. We have advanced so much with a lot of advancement through social media, through internet, and but we're trying to be ignorant towards such things, and then we need to bring it to everyone's attention now. Lenny, tell me about Homes of Hope. How did it start?
It started a long time ago, 20 years. We were invited here by some local businessmen. Actually, the original plan was for us to run an orphanage, but after doing a year and a half of research on the streets, we found out that the greatest thing that we could do to help Fiji is work with young single moms to try to keep a family unit together. And then through the years, that developed into young single moms that have been victims of forced sex. And then as of the most recent years, it's developed into young single moms and single girls who have been victims of or vulnerable to forced sex. And I want to add in here too, after hearing Annalisa, we may bring in a victim, but when they go through the program, they become a survivor. And you could hear the confidence in Annalisa. And
So how do you help the surviving victims? What programs do you have in place which produces such a confident woman like Annalisa?
we have a real extensive program. The girls are kept quite busy on campus, and we do soft and hard skill training. We do a lot of counseling. We have focus groups that the girls are allowed to just talk. And I think one of the greatest things is that they're accepted. They have a sense of family and belonging. Plus, they can say whatever. They can say, this happened to me, and everybody will believe them. Mm-hmm. And so it's a tremendous time for them to offload and then to be told, you value, you're worth something, you have a plan and a purpose, let's go for it.
So as we speak, how many girls do we have at Homes of Hope?
Between residents, children, and day scholars, we have over 40 that we work with on a daily basis at this.
How do you fund yourself? Because you've got some girls there. How do you meet your needs?
We're really struggling right now. Really struggling. We have depended overseas, and overseas things are changing. And so we're really looking to Fiji to support a Fijian work. And so we're looking for gifts in kind and financial contributions.
The situation with Homes of Hope at the moment is they don't want a handout mentality. They would love funding because they also have a bakery that's been built. So they're baking bread. They're going to be selling it. They have you have a hatchery there with
Chickens
eggs.
with eggs.
Yeah,
that's
chickens
right.
with eggs. So they're selling that. They do. They make little jewelry pieces, etc., which they sell at the Rock Market every month. So they want to be self-sustained. There's no doubt about that. So there's no handout mentality. But day-to-day running, you do need funds, as you know.
So what kind of help would you need?
Gifts in kind are tremendous. Gifts in kind in terms of things that we actually use. We have a company, a toilet paper company, that gives us toilet paper, so we never have to buy toilet paper. Things like that is so valuable. But then cash, because our greatest expense is salaries. It takes so many staff to work with one of these girls because they're so broken. So we really are looking to the Fijian public for assistance.
So have you been receiving much needed help? Like you said, you really need help all these years. Have you been receiving that much help or some help?
Some help.
Some help.
Yeah.
but you need more help.
We need more help. We
How
need a lot more.
where do people contact you? How, if they want to help you as they're listening?
They can contact through our landline at Homes of Hope, which is in the directory, or they can call me directly at 925-1299.
Are people welcome to visit Homes of Hope, or is it very private?
It's very private for protection of the girls. They can call if they want to come up and speak with one of our staff or have a tour. They can call ahead of time and make an appointment, and that's fine.
Ajay, would you like to say something?
Yeah, no, all I can say is Homes of Hope have done a tremendous job for the last 20 years. Up till now, they've been funded from overseas. That's changing, so they need to change their concept and design of getting money. They're trying to be self-sufficient, as we talked about the bakery, the hatchery, selling eggs. They got the rock market going on, but still they need a certain amount of funds for their day-to-day expenses. So if anyone wants to help, as Linny said, you can find Homes of Hope in the directory and you can call. But I also want to say to all the members of the public, children, adults, if you have a problem, if you feel vulnerable and there has been things going on, the child line, it's very important for children, 1325. And once more, the domestic violence line is 1560. I'm very big on problem shared is a problem halved.
Definitely.
We've all been through this situation. It doesn't have to be this particular situation. It can be any situation where you've worried about something. I'll guarantee you've worried about something, you haven't slept, and then a week later you said, why did I worry? Because you haven't shared it.
Yeah.
But if you share this problem, you can get help.
It could save a life, it could save a future and our future generations. To come.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much,
absolutely.
Ajay, for being on the show, and Lini for doing a great
Thank you so
job, and Ajay
much.
for being the Goodwill Ambassador. I'd like to end this program with one thing. Have quality family time, at least once a week. Know your family. We are so busy with internet and social media. We do not get time to get our family. The only time we do is when there is a power outage or so, which is a bit of a shame. So have quality family time. This will solve a lot of problem. And if you want to know more about Homes of Hope, do contact Lini or Ajay Amrit or get in touch with me. I'll be seeing you again on Speak Your Mind next week, Tuesday. Stay safe and be happy. Look after your family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.